Recording. Great. All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome again. Thank you for joining us for our third and final session of our social media marketing series. So glad everyone could be with us. And April, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. I hope everybody's doing well today and enjoying our series. So we are on the last series, part 3 of our webinar. So hopefully either you're getting to join us, you've been joining us live, or you've caught up to the sessions and now you're here, or you're watching the recording of it later on. So today we're going to talk about kind of setting goals and measures through metrics. So some things that you should look at and pay attention to on my recommendation would be monthly basis. And then how to really look at insights on Facebook and Instagram specifically, and where to find things, so then you know how to adjust your plan. So you can see like what's working, who's responding to things, but if you don't know where to find it, you can't look at that information. And then we'll try to leave a little bit of time for questions if you have any. And of course, just like before, if you have questions along the way and you don't want to forget them, please put it in the chat. It'll ding at me. And so if I see it, I'll try to go in so we can talk about it if it's like in a particular area. Or if not, you want to save your questions for the end, that's fine too. Whatever you prefer is totally fine. Okay. So I just said that this is what we're going to do today. And okay, so the first part of this is really determining your objectives. So if you remember in this part 1 of our training, we talked about having a social media plan, and part of that plan was trying to figure out what it is we wanted to accomplish. So as part of that, and looking back at those objectives, you want to be able to then measure against those objectives and what you're trying to accomplish. So is all of this work in social media worth what you're trying to do? And it might not be all of these things. Okay, I put very common ones that people are looking at for social media, but you might not. For example, your association might not necessarily care about driving people to a website, or you might, because that's where you want people to sign up. So I put all of these here. So increasing brand exposure, which, you want to get the word out about your association. So being able to measure against that, how well is that happening? And I'll show you the metrics here in a minute. Obviously, I just said this, qualified web traffic. So is it helping drive people to your website? Are you getting engagement? So are people reacting to your videos, commenting on your on your post, doing what you have kind of asked ask them to do if in your posts and what you're doing, creating sales. So if there's something in there as far as sales, so sales for you guys might really be joining your association, becoming a member, joining a team, whatever that is. So you can translate that sales into however you want. And then social will affect that. It probably won't be your silver bullet only way doing it, but this is a great way to stay in communication with the people that you want to attract to play tennis with you. So certainly something you want to make sure that you're tracking and keeping track of. So sales might really translate into membership for you or something like that. Or maybe you're selling something else too. And then encouraging participation. Clearly, it's not really about participation online, because we're measuring that through engagement and other things, but participation in your events and your tournaments and what you have going on with your association, that's something that you want to make sure that social is helping to contribute to. Okay, so this is, so these are great things, but then like, what am I actually supposed to look at when you talk about brand exposure, April, right? So here's the relevant statistics and things, and I'm going to show you where to find all these things, but this is what you need to look for. So when I talk about brand exposure, what you're looking at is reach numbers. So the difference between reach and impressions: reach is how many people are exposed to your message. So that means in your news feed, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any social media site, that how many people have seen your content in their news feed. So how many people did you reach? And reach is counted. So let's say I see your message 2 or 3 times. Reach is counting me only once, so it's the unique number. And impressions means how many times I'm actually exposed to that message. So impressions, if I saw a message 3 times in my news feed, then for impressions, I will be counted 3 times. So impression number is always going to be higher than your reach number, but they're both really important to look at. And a lot of times with social, it'll tell you kind of your average impression. So you're reaching somebody an average of 2.5 times or something like that. Definitely look at reach a lot. And then following, like how many new likes do you have following? How many people have said, I want to hear about from this brand on a regular basis. So looking at that number. And then those charts to the side are just examples of how our company reports it back to our clients. So I'm not saying you need to put it in a formal presentation because you might not actually be reporting it to anybody. But in case you do, like this is a great little way to do it. But I wanted to at least show you the kind of how it translates through. We look at statistics on our numbers every single month. So I'm always comparing month over month, year over year, and so forth. And so those are just some ways to share it, if you got to share that information with other people. Okay, so produce qualified web traffic. So website traffic, social referrals. If you have a website that you've got your association on, I would encourage you, if you don't already, to make sure you have Google Analytics on there. Google Analytics, just Google Analytics. It's free. It's a code that you'll put on the backside of the website, but it will track all kinds of really useful information for you. So it's a free service from Google, and that's where you'll be able to really see like what your web traffic is. Social referral means how many people are coming from social media to your website as a result of something that you've done. So social referral is a great way to look at, and it'll break it down by social platforms. So you can see like, are the majority of people coming from my webs for social specifically, are the majority of the people coming from Facebook, or are they coming from Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest, or wherever, so you can really see, so you don't have to guess, like, I think people are coming from here. You'll know because you can look at Google Analytics and track that. And your website traffic will, social isn't going to be the only thing that should be driving, search will drive, like if people are just searching your organization and other things, and you'll be able to see all of those statistics in Google Analytics. So that would be my recommendation. It's free, really easy thing to add if you don't already have it. And then encourage engagements. So engagements are people reacting to your post or your content that you're providing. So reactions are the like, love, wow, all the different things on Facebook particularly, or the thumbs up. So reactions, comments, people commenting, people sharing your content, clicking on something and watching videos, those types of things are all, so video views is also considered engagement. And then creating sales. So number of sales maybe in a month. So we're tracking monthly, but number of sales. So this might be for you all, not just number of sales. So remember, we're translating sales to either number of memberships, number of new members, those types of things. So if I assume you're tracking like how many new members you get per month or per season or something like that. And so you want to see like, are we growing? And then maybe what we're doing on social media, is it helping grow? Those types of things. So not one of these measurements won't necessarily be the like silver bullet driver, but all of these things are meant to give you information to then be able to make better decisions on what you want to do. So I'm a big believer in the more information you have, the better you can make decisions, because You're not guessing at anything. You're not guessing where your web traffic's coming from. You're not guessing whether you're actually reaching anybody. You're not guessing whether people are actually engaging with your content. You can actually see the numbers and you can see what's happening, and then you can make real-time adjustments based on what's really happening. And it's really the only marketing that you can do this. You have so much information. It can be a little overwhelming at times, but it's so good. And it's so much stuff that you can really utilize it to your advantage. And of course, the last one there, I'll say encourage participation. So we talked about in the last one, making sure you're setting up events like on Facebook. So you can look, and I'll show you where to find that. You can look at event RSVPs online and in social, and then see how many people attended. You know, is there a correlation? Are people participating and doing things in the event and kind of engaging in there? So that is something else, because you guys are hosting events on a very regular basis. I would encourage you to look at those stats too. So any questions on kind of like what you should even be looking for? Okay, good. Okay, if you have one later, just ask it. Okay, so we're gonna move forward, and I broke it up to Facebook and then Instagram, and we're gonna talk about those two. Not that I know some of you are using other social platforms, but there's a lot of metrics in these two, and I believe that most of you are using one or both of these particular platforms. And there's a lot you can find, so I wanted to make sure that you had the information. And there's a ton of screenshots in here, and that's so when you get this presentation later and you reference the slides, you can be like, oh, gosh, I remember she told me to go find in the insights, like where to find how many, the demographic information of our followers, but gosh, I don't remember where the heck that is. Well, you could reference the presentation and look at the screenshot, and it kind of shows you where it is. So I tried to make it user-friendly enough that you could use this as a reference if you wanted to. Okay, so the first one is really Facebook Insights. So if you're on your page, my green box is in the wrong spot, but right here, where the blue, where the blue bar is, it says Insights. So if you're on your page and the bar at the top, because you're either an admin or an editor of that page, it might be that you have to go to the dots and it will drop down in the drop down menu, but one of those is called Insights, and Insights is where you want to be to find all of this information. So once you click on Insights, you're going to get to this page, and this is going to be an overview page, and the page summary will give you an option to look at 7 days, 14 days, or 28 days. So you can just choose, or you can also, and I'll show you this in a minute, you can also be very specific. So let's say you're like, well, I don't want to look at any of those. I want to look for the whole month of March, and there's 31 days in March, right? So you can pick the whole month too, but it will default to these. So if you're looking at Insights, like you're just checking in on things, or you're just going in Insights and kind of spot checking stuff and seeing how things are going, then I would look at, one of these particular measurements and not necessarily download the data. But it's going to give you an overview of what's going on. So what actions are happening, page views, you can see reach, likes, followers, videos, all of those things. And all of these things in the middle here are also over here on the sidebar. So this is kind of just your normal overview screen. And then we're going to dive into what to do with all this stuff over here on the side. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. So here's the side, and this is really where you're going to navigate through Insights. And now you can see the Insight button. I didn't cover it with the green box. So this is where you're really going to navigate through and look at all of this information. And we're going to talk about each of these, so you're not like, wow, that's a lot of stuff, April. What the heck do they all mean? So I'm going to tell you. Okay, so the first one is promotions. So overview and then promotions. Promotions is really going to let you look, if you're running any advertising and you're boosting any posts, it's going to show you kind of an overview of what you boosted. So you can see, I just pulled a screenshot from a client that we boost posts for. And so you can see kind of what it looks like. What I will say is that if you're running any other types of advertising, and we didn't really go into ads in this particular webinar, but if you're running any other types of advertising, you would go to your ads manager dashboard to really find the details of all the insights on what you needed to know for your ads. But this is like a quick little screenshot of our snapshot of kind of what's been going on. So you probably won't spend a lot of time here, and you won't spend any time if you're not running any ads. Okay, so the next one is followers and likes. So really, followers, so you can follow a page without liking the page. And if you like the page, you'll automatically follow it. But my personal opinion or professional opinion is it's kind of silly to have likes and followers. I wish Facebook would just make up their mind and pick one, because if you like the page, like if you're following the page, why would you follow it and not like it? Like, what's the point of it? Because you still see the same information, even if you follow or like the page. So we usually look at likes, because those people, in my opinion, so you can look at followers and there'll be like a slight difference in numbers, but probably not huge. What I like about likes in particular is for Facebook, that means they actually had to take an action and hit that little button that said, I like this page, right? So they have consciously made a decision that they want to see more content from you. So I like to look at those people in particular. And so you can see on here, you can pick a date range, right? So you can, this is what I was saying, you can look at 1 week, 1 month, or a quarter. You can pick a date range that you like. So if you're trying to look month over month, which is what I would recommend, and what we do, is you can adjust that to the dates, and then you can kind of see if there's some growth here. What I will tell you is that as Facebook has changed over the last several years, they were a privately held company, and then when they went public, their organic likes changed drastically, because really it's all about money, right? And so advertising is a big part of that. So don't be too discouraged if you're like, well, if you're not spending ad money on trying to gain more people in particular, then your organic growth of likes will kind of be at a slow move up. Okay. So it won't be real steep, because you're not putting money behind it to make it go that way. So make sure your expectations are correct. So you're going to be a more leisurely stroll up the hill, not a steep climb up the mountain. Okay. And that's okay. What you want to look at, especially if you're just doing organic, you're just doing organic posts, is that you see some sort of positive trend, right? So you've got a positive trend and not a negative trend as far as likes. If you have a negative trend going on and people are unliking your page, then you want to like look at your content and see what's happening and why people are going away or not liking it in particular. So you can see here, you can see total page likes. It'll show you unlikes, organic likes, paid likes. So you can kind of break that down in any way you want to. And then this is a good little, you can screenshot this page if you need to share it with other people, if you need to show that chart. So net likes right here, this bar on this, net likes is the difference between paid and organic. Or likes and unlikes over time. So as some people unlike the page, some people like, and I never get too up in arms about unlikes unless there's like a huge drastic. So like all of a sudden you had a bunch of unlikes, then I would look and see what you did. Like what happened over those couple of days that maybe people got irritated. My guess is that really people are unliking the page if they're like, I don't play tennis anymore. I don't need to see this, right? Like, meh. Or they've moved on, or maybe they don't live in Georgia anymore and they moved to a different state or something like that. So I wouldn't, if it's just a couple here and there, I wouldn't get too concerned about it. Okay, so reach. We talked about reach as a measurement. You can see over here that this is the next one. So you can sort it by however you want, but then you can see the paid reach. So this particular graph, this particular client that I screenshot, we do a lot of paid reach ads. So you can see the paid reach is in orange. dark orange, and then the organic reach is in light orange. So that will fluctuate depending on what's going on. You're always going to see higher numbers with paid, because that's just, like I said, how how Facebook works in particular. But it's just something you can watch, and you can see if you hover over. So I took a screenshot of like hovering over a date, and I can see a very particular date and see what kind of reach I got on that particular day. So if you see a big spike, like you can see this big spike here at the end of the month right here, and then you see kind of a spike over here. So I can look and see what days those are particularly, and then I can look back on those posts for that day and see what the heck did we do that really caused that upward reach. So was it something that was viral? Did people was it a really cool video that somebody really, that, we got a lot of people engaged with or whatever? So this is a good way to see, even from an organic standpoint, like what people are really liking or not liking about, I wouldn't say not liking, but what's really resonating with people. Okay, so then you go here and you can see actions on the page. This is the next one right here. And you can see like there's all kinds. So if you have action buttons on your page, which is click on your website, call this number, any type of get directions, any type of action button, it's going to record what's happening. So you can see like what people are doing. So they're clicking on things, they're going to the website, they're trying to get directions, they're clicking on stuff or whatever. And so this is going to vary depending on what actions you have on your page. And you can also look at, you can look at it by country, city, device, age, gender. So are people, by device means like, are people using like iPhones, or are they using Android devices? Like Facebook is tracking that, or like what city they live in, what country they live in. That's probably not as relevant, because I'm assuming you really only care about people that are living in the US. Age, gender, those types of things you can look at. And then you get to post. So this is a really important one. And the reason why, so this will show data up here for a 1 week period. And if you see fluctuation up here, then you could see this particular page, there's really no fluctuation. But let's say you saw like a lower number on like Monday, Tuesday, and then it got higher as the week went on, then that means people are engaging with your page more towards the end of the week than the beginning of the week. And maybe that makes sense with what you're doing, or maybe it doesn't. It's really interesting. We have some clients that are closed on certain days, and they still actually get a lot of engagement on those pages on those days. So it doesn't, clients will say, well, you don't need to post on that day, we're not open. Well, guess what? It doesn't really matter, because they're still interested in your brand. So so those are the types of information. And then you can see the times people are engaging. So you can see there's a big dip right here, and that's because this is in the middle of the night. It's like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., right? 5 a.m. People are probably should be asleep, right? Although not everybody. And then you can see for this one, it's kind of stays steady, but you might see blips. So you might see a lot of times where I see blips is like lunchtime, first thing in the morning, lunchtime, later in the evening. So think about like the times that people are on social media. You might see some fluctuation in there, and you might not. So this particular client is in a time zone whose target is all across the world. So it's really, really hard to look at times, because it's going to be a different time no matter where people are. So, it's going to make this curve look more like this. So this is actually kind of unusual for it to look like high all the time, because then it's like, wow, people are on your page all the time. Well, not really. I mean, people are on the page all the time, but it's depends on where they live, right? So that's why this one looks like that. Okay, but at the bottom, so below here, where it says all posts published. So this is what it looks like right here. And you can see on here, it's going to show you all the posts that you did, what the type of post it is. So this is a photo. If it just is a box, like with a word box, that means you didn't have any photos or video with it. This next one here is a video. These are links out to websites. Targeting means the whole that you targeted everyone. So your posts, you can change your targeting. So you can say, I only want to reach people in Georgia or only women or whatever. I don't usually, actually very rarely do we ever change the targeting, and we want to target because we want to reach as many people as we want to, because you never know. Like, let's say you change and you're like, well, I really only want to reach people in Georgia because that's all the people that are playing. Well, certainly that might be the majority, but what if you have people researching because they want to they're moving to the Atlanta area and they really love to play tennis and they're trying to find an association. So you want to make sure that if they start engaging with your page, that they're still going to see your content. So for as an example. And then you can see reach and engagement. So these are two of the metrics that I said were really, really important. And so you want to look here and you can see, like, if I'm just looking at this snapshot right here, I can see this particular post on 5/15 did really well, had high reach. It also had, so you can see the blue is post clicks and the pink is reactions. And I will say what's really nice about Facebook is if you're like, what the heck is this? April told me and I can't remember. If you hover over, see where there's an I next to reach. If you hover over that, it will give you the definition and it will kind of tell you what's going on. So it'll remind you like, hey, remember this is what reach means. So don't ever like feel bad if you forget something like that. Like, Facebook's actually really good about making sure they kind of explain everything along the way. So I can look at this and see like, okay, this one did really well. This one down here on the 8th did really well. It's a video. And then I'll look like this one didn't do that great, which doesn't really surprise me because it didn't have a photo with it. So, which is a little odd. So that didn't, and then this one over here, we're talking about, it was a link out, and for whatever reason, this one must have been about Mother's Day in particular, didn't do that great. So, for this is a good example. So I happen to know this is about Mother's Day brunch that they were having. This is a hotel. And I might say, well, this is really important. We want to talk about it, but maybe I talk about it in a different way. So maybe it's more important to show a video of like what the atmosphere is like when you take your mom to eat brunch, instead of just showing a plate of food. Like, I don't remember what it linked, or maybe it's just a link out to make a reservation. Like, maybe that's not that interesting. So sometimes, remember, it's not necessarily the subject, but sometimes it's how you presented the subject matter. So always look at it that way too. Like, okay, well, this is really important. So maybe can I say it a different way? Can I show it a different way? Can I do a video instead of a photo? Maybe I should do a carousel of a couple of photos instead of one. Maybe maybe just showing an empty tennis court is not good. I need to show people playing or whatever, So always analyze things just a little bit deeper. Don't just be like, well, nobody cares about that at all because nobody liked this. And if it's something that's really important, and you're posting about it more than once, like several times, which you should, then I would look at pull out those posts specifically and then compare them to each other and see what type of content people are engaging with over that particular subject matter in particular. Okay, so like I said, let's say you're like, this is all great, April, but I've never looked at insights in my life. And we are now in March and I really want to know what's happened from the beginning of the year and I have no clue. Or maybe you just took over and you're like, I don't know. I'd be really interesting to see what's happened over the last year, right? What happened and 2020 is an odd year, but let's just say you really wanted to see kind of some differences, then you can go up here, see up here in the corner says export data. When you click on that, this little pop-up will come up and it will ask you to what you want to export the data. So you can change the date range to what you want here. You can export it to an Excel file, a CSV file, anything like that. And then you can change like what you want. So then you can pick over here, I want page data, post data, or video data. So maybe you're just trying to analyze your videos and you want to see what's doing well. Then you can click that you just want the video data and see how it gives you the definition of each one. So really, depending on what you click on is what type of information you'll get. And it will come down to you and like a legit looking Excel file, right? And you'll get it and you'll be like, oh my goodness, look at all this information. But remember kind of why you downloaded it in the first place and make sure you're finding what you want. So it'll be columned, and you can click, if you hover over the top, it'll give you the definition of which each of those columns are. So it's even their Excel sheets, when you download it, gives you a lot of information. Oh, here, I forgot that I had you. So this is what it looks like. This is, sometimes you pull it down, you're like, wow. So, and this is just data, right? So this is kind of the link that it goes out to. A post ID is basically the number that Facebook assigns to your post. Every single post everywhere on Facebook has a post ID. So you can imagine that's why these numbers are so ginormous. So whatever the message was, what type it is, and then this particular one, I didn't download this particular information. It'll tell me when it was posted. And then lifetime post total reach. And you can see right here underneath, if I hovered over that, it would give me the definition of that. And the reason I like to look at lifetime post reach is because, let's say I posted something on Monday, March 1st, and I'm pulling data, or let's say I posted something on January 4th, okay? And I'm pulling data for January, February, and March. Well, just because it was posted in January doesn't mean that's the only time somebody engaged with it. So let's say it was a video that was from one of your pros and it gets shared a lot. That video is actually going to have a pretty big shelf life because it's being circulated throughout the Facebook world, all around. So somebody might actually end up engaging with it in February instead of January, even though you posted originally in January. But this is going to capture all the lifetime. So the lifetime of that post, kind of what's happening based on the time period you pull. Okay. So if I pulled it today, which is March 31st, it's clearly only pulling March 31st backwards, not to whatever that date is, not forward. That wouldn't make any sense, but just FYI. Okay. So events, we talked about events. And events is one of those menu buttons on the side. So you would click on it. And when you click on events, it's going to give you an overview screen. So you can see up here, it says overview, and it's going to give you an overview, and you can change, see where it says last 365 days. You can change that to, I want to look at the last week, the last month, the last quarter, whatever. I just left it 365. So it's showing me, I had 6 events in the last year, reached 9.6 thousand people. And this is how many I reached over the last 90 days. Had this many, event responses, and if there were ticket clicks, which means you put a website in there for somebody to purchase a ticket for your event. If it's 0, because you might not be selling a ticket, then you just have to know kind of what's going on. And then below this, you're going to see each event. So this particular client, this is a nonprofit we work with, and I could see all the events that we did this year. So this one, these are past events. This is a current event that's happening in June. So it's an active event, and these are past events. So this is a great way, like if you're doing a reoccurring event, so maybe you have a spring, you have, or maybe in I don't know, in April, you have this really big tennis tournament, right? And so you want to look at kind of how did people engage with your event the year before? This 2020 is a bad example, but like, let's say you were trying to look year over year and you have a reoccurring event. You can look at kind of what did I put in last time? How did people engage with it? What information was the most important? So it keeps a catalog of what you have there, so you can go back and reference it if you need to, or you can look at each event and you can kind of see what's happening. So I clicked on these 2 events. This was the immediate past event that happened last October. And then this is one that's coming up. So you can see that it's still providing the same information, no matter if it's a past event or a upcoming event. So this one, I can kind of see how many people overall reached. It's going to tell me majority of the audience engaged was right here. And then if I look here, this event's not until June, but and we're sharing the event every once in a while. We'll of course beef that up as we get about 6 weeks out from the event. So this is, but they open ticket sales. So you can see here, find tickets. So right here where it says tickets, it's telling me that 4 people clicked on this link to buy a ticket in particular, right? 36 responses, which means that people said they're interested or going to the event. Because some people will just say they're interested in events so that it'll show up and they'll get reminders like, hey, this event's coming up. And then they might decide later, especially if it's an outdoor event. I found that a lot of people will say they're interested in an event and then they'll make a decision on whether they'll participate based on the weather, right? That's just kind of what happens. So this is what you're looking at here. And kind of where you can see your insights. And if you click see more, it'll just give you some more, the same kind of more information there. Okay, the next one down that row on the left, if you're on the overview page, is video performance. And when you look at your video performance, you can see, oh, I gotta talk a little faster. Okay, so when you do video performance, you can look at how many minutes viewed. So I pulled a particular time frame. So I pulled, for this particular one, I pulled December. We had a lot of videos go out in December. So I know that 20,000 minutes were viewed in December, and that was up from the previous month. And 87.7 thousand people viewed this video for at least 3 seconds, viewed videos for at least 3 seconds in the entire month. So it's not just one video. And then you can look like this is highlighted with blue. So this is looking at video views, and then you'll see dips. So that's probably a video was posted here. There was no video here. Then a video was posted here. A video was probably posted here and here, right? So that's just, and then if you look over here, so down at the bottom, if you scroll down the page, I just couldn't do that in the PowerPoint. You can see, and it'll sort by top. So this is sorted by 3-second video. See how it's blue? That's how I know it's sorted in that order. But let's say I wanted to look at minutes viewed or when it was published. If you just click on it, it resorts the order. But I wanted to see like, okay, what's the most popular video in November or December? For this particular, it was these 2 videos right here. And I happen to know that we also did ads around them. So the fact that there's 46,000 views and then like 400, 200 down here doesn't really, it's not like, oh crap, those videos did fantastic and the other ones just sucked it up. Well, no, we had a particular, this was year-end giving for this particular client. So these videos were particularly to drive donations for the year end. So I know that's why they were higher, okay? So you got to kind of know what you're doing, like know what you did to cause things to happen as well. All right, demographics. So you can see people. So the people right here, so you can look at your fans or your followers, the people reached and the people engaged. So remember we talked about the difference between likes and following. So your followers is the followers, your fans are the people that like the page. So just as far as correlation. And so I'm looking here at fans and I'll give you the definition. So I can see for this particular client, we have a majority of women who like the page over men, 75% women over men. And then they're really sitting in this 35 to 54 age group. Okay, with 55 to 64 kind of coming in on the rear, not too far behind. So that means that my content is going to be geared towards women in that age group because they're the ones who are most likely to are following our page and doing stuff with it. And if you click on these other ones, they will change slightly, but it'll just show you like people reached and it'll give you the demographic breakout and people engaged. And then you can see it'll sort it by country, by city, by language, and you can kind of see what is the most popular for your particular page. And then messages, so local is not going to necessarily be there with everybody. So the reason I skipped local is because this client has what's called a Facebook beacon, and it's a device that sits at the property and kind of records when people are there. Not records, but it kind of sends out a signal. And so if you're on Facebook and you're sitting on the property, you're actually going to get a message on your Facebook page from this particular organization, like, hey, you should come downstairs and eat dinner or whatever. But this the only client we have it, and we just kind of happened to it. Like I got a message one day saying, do you want a Facebook beacon? And I was like, yes. And I've tried to get it for other clients, and I actually don't think they do it anymore, but it's still there and active. So for this client, that's what that is. So don't worry if you don't see local. But messages is like direct messages. So if you're getting direct messages, what kind of conversations you're having. This particular client's like not a big thing, so there's not a lot going on in here, but if that was something you were utilizing a lot, that's what it would be. Okay, and then you can also look at story insights. So stories, we talked about that last time. Stories are really big and you want to be utilizing them. And you can look at what's happening with your stories in particular. And so you can like, here's the eye. So if you wanted to see what it was, and you can customize these columns. So let's say you can see like I have certain things checked and certain things not. So for this particular client, I wasn't really caring about forward taps or back taps or exits or sticker interactions, or I could put them in there and see what people are wanting. So you can customize this based on what you want and how you want to see people reacting to it. Okay. And then Facebook Creator Studio, if you remember, we talked about Facebook Creator Studio last time, and you can get insights in Facebook Creator Studio. It was one of the things when you're in there that you could see. And so I just wanted to show you, if you were in Creator Studio, you can poke around on the insights there. So we'll go through this really quickly, but the screenshots are there. So you can look at video performance, gives you a lot of information. So it's a lot of the same information and insights. It just looks a tad bit different, but it's the same stuff. So you can see like this was 3-second views, minutes viewed here. You can, and it breaks it out a little bit farther, like 1 minute, 3 seconds, total minutes, how many people engaged with the video. So it gives you sometimes a little bit more information. And then I can look at the top videos, and like I said, I was sorting by 3-second views, but I can look at each one and see what's happening there. You can look at follower activity. So I can see new followers versus unfollows, just like we talked about before. You can see returning viewers. So a week by week look of how many of your 1 minute viewers, so 1 minute viewers on videos, are actually returning to the page. So just an interesting summary there, or an interesting set of information. You can look at countries, language, interests, what other things people are watching on Facebook when they're engaging with your page, but they're also lots of interests people have. You can kind of see some of the other things people are doing, and then other pages they like. Sometimes they correlate with what you're doing, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just the fact that other people like Target is not really a surprise, right? Everybody likes Target, I feel like. And then you can look at things like how long people are watching things. So you can see the 3-second views are always going to be the highest, and then it goes down 15 and 1. So you can kind of see this drop off is pretty normal. So 3-second views means that they kind of paused in their news feed and kind of were like, what is this? Okay. And then they kept going, right? So you still got people to stop and engage with you even for a little bit. And so you can look at kind of what's happening here and just a little bit more detailed insights as to what's happening with those videos. And the same thing here. So this is all with video. This is video retention. So if they're watching your videos, so is it paid versus this is paid? So 76% of the people watching were watching it because they saw it in an ad. But you can see like, what other things is it getting people to do? Share, follow, provide a recommendation, etc. And then you can see a breakdown of that audience. So I can look at it by age and gender, location, language, and kind of see, you can see that breakout there. And that's down here below this average time people spend watching. And then you can look at page engagements, right? So you can see what's happening there. How many stories were published, how many people opened things. So they clicked on something and opened it to be bigger so they could watch it. Ooh, that's Facebook. Facebook's a lot. I'm going to go quickly through Instagram because Facebook, some of it's the same. because if you remember in Facebook Creator Studio, there was a tab for Instagram. So I'm going to show you both of those. So these Instagram insights are actually on your phone. So if you have Instagram, you're utilizing Instagram and you're on your phone, these are where you're going to find these. So when you're in your on your page, one of the tabs right on your main page, so where you're seeing all of your posts, is you're going to see insights as one of the buttons, and that's where you would click, and it's going to take you to here. And so it provides Instagram actually just did an update over the last few months of their insights, and they now provide a whole lot more information than they ever did before, which is wonderful for people like me who really like to look at all of this stuff. So you can change the last 30 days, the last week, those types of things. You can look at right here. So you'll see impressions, kind of profile visits, website taps, like what people are doing on your page. And then you can see an overview, like how many accounts were reached, how many people interacted with stuff. Of your total followers, like is it increasing or decreasing? And then you can kind of see down here, it'll show you, let's see, if you go through right here, account activity, sorry, this is out of order a little bit. Account activity, so see where it says website taps over here, email taps, get directions. So if people are clicking on things, you can sort of see what's happening. And then you can see down here, top posts, it will give you kind of the top posts and stories. And if you click on the see all, you'll see more information there. And then once you go, so one of the tabs here is your audience. So see where it says your audience right here, it says see all. When you click on that, it's going to go into here, which is a follower breakdown. So this is where you're getting all the demographic information. So you can see like how many followers over the last 30 days, follows, unfollows, what's kind of happening where. So you can see top locations, so where they live. This is a organization that's located in Fayetteville. So the cities there don't really surprise me. I can see the breakout by age. And if I wanted to look at men and women in particular, you just click on that. Then you can look at gender. So the majority of people that like this page are women. And then you can see, I can right here where it says most active times. So you can actually look by, this is by hours. So then I would just click on those arrows and go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and look by day, or you can click by day and it will show you in a bar graph, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then under content interactions, you can see, you can kind of see how many likes, comments, saves, shares, what people are doing. And then when you're on your, so if you clicked, I want to see more about my, so top posts, and I click see all, you're going to get to this and you're going to see, this is looking at all posts in terms of reach in the last year. But when you click on those arrows up here at the top, it gives you these last three right here. So you can say, okay, I want to look at just all my posts, or I just want to look at video posts or whatever. I want to select a metric. So I want to see like how many likes do we get, or how many profile visits, or how many post interactions. And then you can select a time period. So you can see there's the time periods. So one of the biggest difference between Instagram and Facebook is Facebook allows you to download the information to a particular time period that you want, but Instagram doesn't. It kind of gives you, you have to pick one. And then stories, it's the same type of thing. So I'm looking at the reach for the last 30 days. So I can select a metric here and look at different metrics for stories. You can see they're tracking quite a bit of things. So if you want to see what's happening with your stories, and all of this is so you know what to better post. So all of these insights, so I went into all the nitty-gritty on how to read these insights, but in reality, you want to be able to look at it, even if you're not downloading the information and tracking all the data. Like, you need to look at insights on a regular basis just so you know what's working and what's not at the very heart of it. Okay. And then you'll know how to better create content. You'll know how to better what if videos are more popular, or like what are people, because at the end of the day, it's not what you think is great, it's what your audience thinks is great, right? What do they want to see? And you want to be able to provide more of what they want to see. So this is just, these slides here are for Facebook Creator Studio. So remember I said that if you're in Facebook Creator Studio, you can do Facebook and Instagram. So you can look at some more insights on Instagram within Facebook Creator Studio. That's why you're like, Facebook, I thought you were on Instagram. Well, you can look at the metrics. So you can see the audience metrics here. And you can see this is down more audience metrics. You can see kind of by day or by day and hour, countries and cities. You can look at kind of when your followers are on Instagram. So it kind of gives you a nice little chart. So the darker is the heavier times, the lighter is the not heavy times. So apparently Sunday at 9 a.m. nobody is on here for this particular client. It's kind of a weird thing, but okay. And then I can look and see countries and cities as well here. And then activity. So this is like actions taken on the page. Did somebody do something? Did they get directions? Did they click on a profile? Did they go to the website, etc. You know, whatever those actions are that you've defined on your page. How many accounts reached over a period of time? So this is just pulling a week in November. So I can see what's happening, but you can change that range a little bit too if you want to. Oh, and there we go. That was the end of it. So I tried to leave a little bit of time. So I was going fast at the end because I want to give you guys an option to ask any questions. If anybody has any questions, you guys have been a pretty quiet group. Oh, there's all kinds of questions here in the chat. Okay, let's see. So I apologize, I did not see them. Okay, so let's see. Lindsay asked a question. Lindsay, you're so good. If I had something, if we were virtual, I'd give you a prize because you are so good about asking questions and I love it. When you talked about zealots in the first session, is there a way to find those people easily through page insights? That is a great question. And really the answer is not really, okay? So it's kind of. So when you define your zealots, so zealots are the people who love your brand the most and are most emphatic. So let's just say, I'm going to pick something just for the sake of this discussion. Let's say you've decided that women in their 30s is a big zealot for your association, right? Like they're the activators. They're the ones out there getting all their friends to participate. I have no idea. I'm making it up, okay? And so when you're looking at insights, you know that that is a big group for you. So you should see if your posts are going more to, you know, you're trying to talk to those zealots, you should probably see a larger group in that particular. So women, you won't be able to differentiate necessarily like moms versus single or married, you know, those types of things necessarily, but you can when you're doing ads, but you can't in insights. So, but you can look and see like, okay, do I have a lot of 30 somethings women on my page? Okay, then it must be me doing things that attract them. So some of it, you have to make some educated correlations. You can't necessarily just say, okay, these are my zealots. I want to find like, how many of them exactly do I have? It won't exactly do that. So sort of yes, sort of no. And then Michael, you asked how far back can you go with the date range? So sorry, that was when you in Facebook, when you could pick your date range. Let's see, I believe you can go back. I believe you can go back at least 2 years. And I'm actually going to double check that because I know you can go back a year. So you can always go back a year's worth of time. And I believe you can go farther than that, but then and the reason why I'm questioning it is because with all the regulations and things going on with Facebook lately and them getting in trouble for keeping people's data, they've actually shortened that period. So it might be a year. You used to could go back for like the life of your page. I could go back like 10 years if I wanted, but they quit allowing you to do that. So I just need to double check and see, but I will find that out for you. I could probably do it before we even get off the phone. Do you have any tips on how to use social media to engage our diverse markets? So yes, what I would say is like definitely diverse, meaning I'm sure you've got all kinds of different diversity. So I would say that you find out the things that Well, one, I would say that if you have a particular market that you're wanting to target, then I would do some advertising that are specifically targeted to that, or making sure that you're showing diversity in your posts. So the more, if you're trying to talk to a diverse market and you're not diverse in your posts, then you're not going to resonate with them at all. So the first place is to do it there, and the second place is you can reinforce some of that with some targeted advertising to help with that as well. So hopefully that answers that. Any other questions? Well, if you have questions, I put my contact information at the end of each slide or the end of each presentation. So if you think of something, you kind of get into it and you're like, gosh, I'm into this and I don't really get it. I have a question, like shoot me an email, send me a text, give me a call. I'm happy to like answer a question for you if you have something that you need. Especially if one-off. Sometimes I know it's a lot of information. So being able to, what I would encourage you to do is like, take this information and start using it, right? Start going back and like looking at insights the first, if you don't have a plan, then create a plan. That's the first step. In the middle session 2, we talked a lot about, I gave you guys a bunch of tips on different things you should do. So maybe all of those tips are overwhelming, then take a couple of them that you're like, all right, I'm gonna start with these 2 tips. I can handle this, and start implementing them and doing what you can. So I will always tell you that don't bite off more than you can chew, because you're just going to water down what you're doing. So I encourage you to do what you can, and then little by little add more things in as you get better at stuff, or as maybe you're like I know we need to be on Instagram, but we're only on Facebook and I don't have any time to do it. And I don't quite, so, baby steps, like really do really well at Facebook. And then maybe down the road, you'll add in Instagram, for example, or you'll add in stories or reels, or, those types of things that we talked about. And then no matter what you're doing, I encourage you to please look at insights, and that will help you decide. I gave you a lot of different metrics you can look at. Pick the ones that make sense for you, and then use insights to help you analyze what you're doing and make better decisions on the type of content that you're posting. Because like I said, at the end of the day, it's not about you personally. It's about whoever you're targeting, and them wanting to engage and be more, be more intentional with interacting with your brand, because that's what you want them to do. Ultimately, I guarantee every single one of you want more people to be playing tennis, right? So, ultimately, what types of things are you doing on social media to help encourage that? So, thank you, Lindsay. Any other questions? That's all I got, Michael. It's a lot. Right. Today was a lot.
It was. No, it was great. April, thank you so much. I think this has been fantastic. And I know it's going to be beneficial to everyone out there. And everyone, just a reminder, this was recorded. I'll send an email out later today once I get it all online and everything. But the other 2 sessions are already posted. All the presentation decks are already out there as well. So just jump back on it for a resource if you need to look at it. Like I said, April did a great job of trying to really spell everything out step by step for us in the presentation decks. And I thank everyone for joining us. And again, April, thank you. You've been amazing. Appreciate it.
I've enjoyed it.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.